My wife mocked my cheap watch during a business dinner. I said nothing. 2 hours later, a billionaire spotted it across the room and suddenly went pale. "Where did you get at?" he asked. I told him my father's name. The man staggered back, staring at the watch like he'd seen a ghost. Then he whispered, "He has no idea who you are." The dinner had been her idea. Clients from a regional development firm, the kind of meeting she'd been pushing me toward for months. A chance to make an impression, she said. She'd spent the afternoon picking out her dress and rehearsing talking points. I'd put on a clean shirt, the same dark jacket I'd had for 4 years, and the watch my father left me. That was her first problem of the evening. She noticed it before we'd even left the driveway. "You're wearing that tonight?" Not a question. A verdict. I told her it was the only watch I owned, which we both knew, and which she seemed to find almost offensive. She went quiet, which meant she was saving it. The restaurant was the kind of place that announces its own importance when you walk in. Dark wood, amber lighting, menus without prices on the left side. Our clients were already seated when we arrived. Warren was direct and easy to talk to. His wife barely looked up from her phone. We ordered. Things felt fine. Then she did it. Midway through the appetizers, my wife leaned toward Warren's wife and nodded at my wrist. "He inherited it," she said, with the kind of smile that signals a punchline is coming. "From his father. I keep telling him it looks like something from an estate sale, but he won't hear it." She laughed softly. Warren gave a polite smile. His wife glanced at the watch and went back to her phone. I picked up my fork and kept eating. My father was a mechanical engineer, mostly self-taught. He grew up taking things apart to understand how they worked, and eventually got good enough at putting them back together that people started paying him for it. He worked out of a shop behind our house. Custom components on contract, industrial clients, small manufacturers. He charged fair rates, did clean work, and never once suggested that what he did made him anything other than exactly what he was. He died when I was 31. The watch was the only thing I asked for. It doesn't look valuable. Steel case, white face, leather strap worn smooth from decades of use. He'd worn it every day I could remember, and that meant more to me than any appraisal. My wife had never once asked about it. About 40 minutes in, I noticed the man. He was 2 tables over, alone, working through a steak with the efficiency of someone who eats to function. He was in his 60s, no tie, simply dressed in the way that very settled men sometimes are. It took me until somewhere around the entree to place the face. An industry magazine, a couple of years back. Founder of one of the largest industrial equipment distribution companies in the country. Retired in title, still sat on 3 boards. Net worth somewhere north of $4 billion. He wasn't looking at the room, he was looking at my wrist. I noticed it twice and set it aside. A man like that doesn't stare. I forgot about it. He came over between the entree and the dessert menu, when our clients had stepped away for a call. He didn't apologize for the interruption or introduce himself. He just stood at the edge of the table and looked at me. "May I see the watch?" I glanced at my wife. She looked back with an expression I couldn't read. I unclipped it and held it out. He took it with both hands, turned it over, ran his thumb along the back plate where my father had engraved his initials because he always thought the steel case looked unfinished on its own. The man's face didn't change, but something behind his eyes went still. "What did your father do?" "Mechanical engineer," I said. "Independent, small contracts, built custom components for industrial clients. No firm, no partners." He nodded once. "The pressure valve mechanism he designed is the core component of every piece of pressurized equipment my company manufactured between 1993 and 2011. Every unit. We sold over 40,000 of them across North America." A pause. "I licensed the design in 1993 for $180,000. There was a royalty clause in the contract tied to production volume. It was never honored. I don't know if your father knew to enforce it or if he simply didn't pursue it." He set the watch down on the table between us. "There's money owed to his estate. I'm not going to give you a number standing here, but I want you to call my office." He placed a card next to the watch. I picked up the watch first, clipped it back onto my wrist. My wife hadn't made a sound. She was sitting completely still, both hands in her lap, watching me with an expression I had never seen on her before. I picked up the card, looked at it once, put it in my jacket. Warren and Diane came back asking about dessert. "Yes," I said. I didn't look at her.